Hello, amazing teachers, and welcome back to Immediate Immersion Live. Sorry I wasn't able to make it last week. I got sick a little bit, and I just could not bring myself to being online after school. And I'm sorry I'm late today. We had to make a change because I had a PBIS meeting after school. These new school hours are kicking my butt, let me tell you. Just want to let you know that's why we were late today. We'll be back to our normal schedule. Let's see. Yes, next week is October. So October 1st, we'll be back on our normal schedule, going back at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. My last Tuesday duty is tomorrow. And then I've got one more duty left for the year, and that'll be on Thursday at the end of October, so it won't affect us. So I just want to let you know that's where it is. So next week, we'll be back on our regular schedule, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. So sorry about all the hecticness in September. Just trying to get my feelings ready for the new school year with the new schedule and my new hours and all of that, trying to get it all worked out and find a happy medium. Before we get started, let me go ahead and just talk about quickly, if you're interested, getting some housekeeping done. So the 1 week that the one that we were supposed to do last week, I put to the end of October, so we'll get that one in there. You didn't miss it. We'll go ahead and include that one in there. I just moved it to the end because everything else was scheduled, so I put that in there. Also, if you're interested in joining our dynamic discipline course to kind of help get your discipline in order, your classroom management, building student relationships, all those sorts of things, you can go to mm.us/discipline and join for that. Also, today we've also got comprehended.co register. So let me get this one up here for you too as well. This one is our annual Comprehended 2025 conference is open for registration. We have till September 30th for the super early bird special. So go ahead if you're interested in registering before the price goes up. The price will go up on October 1st. So we're getting really, really close. So if this is something you're interested in, take advantage and register for that. It's a great deal this time of year, and I can't remember what the prices are. I got to look here real quick. Bear with me 1 second. So I think you're saving... Yes, you're saving $50 by registering now before September 30th. Then the prices go up by $50 from October 1st to October 31st. And starting in November 1st, we are at our regular registration, which is $100 more expensive. And that goes to the end of January. And then we are at late registration from February 1st. The conference will start this year. If I can get my date here, February 15th through June 1st. So it will start on February 15th, but you can get it as low as $77 for a 3-month pass if you register before October 1st. So if that's something you're interested in, take advantage of that. And with that, let's talk about today. So today's video is all about simple and effective classroom routines for CI success. And you're going to discover the exact routines that can make your classroom a dynamic, engaging environment where students thrive. And I'm going to share some practical tips on how to seamlessly implement and teach these routines. Plus, I'll break down why these routines work so well, backed by real-world success stories. My name is Scott, and you're watching Immediate Immersion Live, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back. As you see, we've got lots and lots of topics up there that we would need to cover today because a lot of routines. And this is not an exhaustive list, so please don't think that it is. Some of these will work for you. Some of these might not work for you. You might have some other ones you want to add and some other things you want to change. That's free. Just giving you some ideas on what you can do. So first up is the daily greeting. So you want to greet each student at the door with a smile and a personal greeting. I know, we got to go pee. We got to set up for the next class. But it's really important to find a way that you can get out and greet every student as they come into class. My bladder's on a schedule. The way it works for me is I come in, I go pee right before first period. I go pee after second period, which is lunch. We're on blocks. So we go first, second, lunch, then third, fourth, and then I can go pee again during my prep fourth. So those are my times. My body's scheduled to do it that way. So I go at least 3 hours on the first time without going pee in between. I've only got 5-minute passing periods, and I want to be there to greet my students at the door. So do it with a smile, make it genuine, and make it a personal greeting. It's really important to use their names when you talk to them. It's one of the ways that I force myself to learn their names as early as possible. And what this really does is it builds a positive classroom environment, and it strengthens teacher-student relationships. So that is really, really important. I'm starting on a positive note. I'm noticing something about them. I'm acknowledging them. I'm greeting them at the door. I have real eye contact with them. I'm acknowledging them by name. I'm welcoming them into the classroom. And it's different than you just be in your classroom at your desk or getting ready for the next class and the kids just saunter on in. I'm taking the time to acknowledge them, each and every one of them, as they come in and say something positive to them, because it just lets them know that I want them there, they're needed to be there, and that I'm noticing them and appreciating their presence. If they've been absent, even just for one day, I'll say, welcome back. I missed you that day. Or if we had a particularly bad day yesterday, I said, sorry, we had a bad day yesterday. We're going to start brand new today. Let's start fresh and let's start on a good foot. So all those kinds of things. It really does build a good, positive environment, and it focuses on students being more positive and you being more positive. And if you can even if you're in a bad mood or grumpy, if you can fake it, it will help the endorphins go, and you might actually live it when you do it that way. So it's really, really important to do your best and get those things in and out so that you can really start the class on a good, positive note. Your kids have been welcomed in. They're now sitting down in class, and they're getting ready to do number 2. Number 2 is bell work. Let me get to my little button there. There we go. So do nows, bell work, whatever you call them. I call them a despegue, which in Spanish means takeoff. I got that from an English teacher I heard, and they used launch, and so I did it that way. I want them to take off at the beginning of my classroom. So I have some kind of a short activity on the board ready to go as they enter the classroom. So, I use slides to go through all my lesson plan. My lesson plans are on slides. So there it is, right there. It's red. It lets them know exactly what they are to do that day. I don't have to tell them. Now, obviously, there's some of them that I might have to remind, but it's up there on the board, so they should get started on it when they get to classroom. I also put a timer on there. Now, I don't start the timer until after I take attendance, but I have a little YouTube timer. Just search for a timer. You can find lots of them, and I'll put it on the slide. I set it for 5 minutes because most of my bell work, my despegues, can be done in 5 minutes or less. So I set that little timer up there so I know, and it keeps me and them on track. They can see the timer up there. They can see how long they have to complete their task. So you want to display the task either on your board or on your projector, however you do it. If they need materials, have those materials already ready. So like on the first day of school, I had them draw a picture of the things they like to do. So I had paper and I had colored pencils and markers ready. So when I greeted them at the door, I said, "Welcome to Spanish. I need you to get started on the assignment on the board." And the colored pencils and paper are in the back, so they know exactly what to do. So have that in there. Why is this important? It maximizes instructional time and helps students transition into learning mode. They're not socializing with their friends. They're not on their phones. They're coming in. When they come in, they need to be ready to work, and it gets them in that mode. Now, what do I do for my despegues? It ranges, but things I do is copy down new vocabulary, silent reading, doing little practice. I call them practices. They're like 5-minute little self-check quizzes, asking kids to translate things, or what does this mean, or how do you say that, those kinds of things. Just 5 simple questions. And I can do them right there on my slides, and then I can click and it gives the answers afterwards, and we can discuss them. Reflections are another thing that I do. Those are my basic go-tos, because I usually do vocabulary on Mondays, silent reading on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays is when I do my practice, and then Fridays I have my reflection. But whatever works for you. But I get my kids in a routine so they know what to expect on which day, and they know if they forget, it's right there on the board for them to do it. If anybody has any good bell ringers or despegues or whatever you call them, do nows, please feel free to put them in a chat and share them with the rest of us. So maybe we have some other ideas, but those are my ideas. Next, let's talk about classroom signals. So these can be very, very effective. So use a specific hand signal or a sound like a bell to get students' attention. Schools do this all the time. We have bells to let kids know where they need to be at what time. My school, because we have 2 different schools on the same campus, I'm on a satellite campus for, I can't think of it now. What's it called? I could see the letters, but I cannot think of what it stands for. Bear with me 1 second while I think about it. Veterans Tribute. I have lost the English word. I apologize. I cannot think of it. We call it a CTE, something tech, career tech. Thank you. Oh my God, my brain. Career tech education. So I'm at the campus for that, where they're doing hands-on things, and my school does construction, agriculture, and culinary. And they pair up with an elective, and one of the electives is Spanish that they'll take. So that's the kids that I have, but there's another school on that campus as well. And then my kids go to the main campus for half their day and then stay at my campus for half the day. But there's a whole nother school that goes on, and we are on different schedules. That is a dual enrollment college campus. So we don't have bells, because we wouldn't know which bells are for whom. So I have bells. I put them on my phone so I know when there's a bell going off. But you can use bells for different things. For being quiet, I silently just raise my hand to get kids to be quiet, because talking at them doesn't really help. I just have you have different hand signals for different types of things. The only one that I use is the hand one. I know my kids last year, and I saw a kid use it even this year, so it might be a universal sign, because I thought just my middle schools did it, but they do this thing called a quiet coyote, and they make this little hand gesture. My kids did it in my previous school district, and now my current school district. I'm having a few of my freshmen do it from their middle school years, but I just have them raise their hand, and I just raise my hand, and I'd be quiet and let them know to be quiet. Whatever works for you. Some teachers I know use a bell to let them know it's time to be quiet or to change activities. I just do this. Now, changing activities, as I said, all my lessons are on slides. So I change the slide, they know we're on a new activity. So they can see it right there, they see the transition, and they know to get right there. So you want to, when you do signals or bells or whatever you do, you want to teach it, and you want to practice it, and you want to consistently use it. It's not something that's one and done. And you can't just tell them and expect them to remember and to do it. You have to actually teach it as if it were any other type of lesson. So teach the signal, practice it, and consistently use it. So, excuse me. I'll have kids just have some side conversations, and then I'll raise my hand up, and then I watch them get quiet. And we practice it a few times. And whenever my kids get a little bit noisy, I do the same thing to bring them back down to a quiet time so we can focus on our lesson. Now, why are these so great? Because they can quickly gain students' attention without raising your voice, maintaining a calm environment. When you raise your voice, they're going to raise their voices, and it's just going to escalate. But it's quick, it's easy. You wouldn't believe me how quickly this just little hand gesture can work. Just stop talking, put your hand up, and then you wait. And it goes really quickly, and it goes quicker and quicker each time, because kids realize it's time to be quiet. And it really does work effectively. I apologize for yelling at you. Oh. Up at 4:30 in the morning. Long day. And it's 6:16 my time. So, been a long day already. So, it's a really great way. Get used to using classroom signals. Figure out which type of signals will work for you. Maybe it's just the one like I use to get the kids being quiet. That works for me. I don't need any other ones that I use. I find other ways to do other things. But that's my hand signal that I go to. Number 4 are transition routines. Transitions are the area where most classroom time is wasted. Kids like to use transition time to slowly put their stuff away or get their stuff out for the next activity, to take their time. And so what we want to do is we want to minimize all of that activity as much as possible, that so we get as quickly through a transition as possible. Now, I don't know about you, but I was told years ago by one of my supervisors that I did transitions expertly, and that a lot of teachers have trouble with transitions. So if you're one of those teachers who has trouble with transitions, put a thumbs up or a me too in the comments so I know. I never had a problem. I didn't know it was a problem because I never really thought about it. I just changed my slide and there we go. Or I just move into the transition with the mindset of expectation that you are moving along with me. And I was in my review, the teacher told the evaluation, my evaluator told me that he never seen transitions move so smoothly. And to be honest, I never really thought about it. I just did it. My expectation was, I'm moving on, you moving with me, and I expected them to do it, and they did. So I never had a problem with it, but I know a lot of people do. So there's lots of things you can do. Use specific routines for moving between activities, like from desk to carpet or from one activity to another. I know one school or one teacher I knew, I could never do this. I can't get the rhythm just right. I'm not musically inclined, so that is not one of my strengths. But one of the things that they did was she had them count to the tune of, what's the song? It's from Happy Days, 1 O'Clock Rock, whatever that name of that song is. So she would have them count in Spanish to that. Uno, dos, tres. I say I can't get the right numbers and the right rhythm. But she would have them do that. So during every transition, they had to do that. So that kept them from talking to their neighbors. That kept them from going on their phones. And by the time that they got done with the verse, whatever it was and what number they ended up on, they had to be ready for the next activity. Whatever you find works for you in your class. If you've got something that really works for you to help with transitions, again, please put it in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on the replay, to let us know what you actually use so that we can share out all these different ideas to help us minimize the transition time here. So you, again, just like anything else you do in the classroom, you're going to teach it, you're going to practice it, and then you're going to use visual or auditory clues to let kids know that you're moving on. So for me, it's a visual cue because my slides change. I have different activities. I go in the same order every time because kids really need that routine and that structure. I mean, I change out my main activity, but they know that we start class with some kind of a warm-up. Then we do an inspirational slide. Then we do a word of the day. Then we do our song. Then we go into weather talk. Then we go into conversations. Then we go into our main activity. And then we go into a closing activity. And between my conversations and my main activity, and my main activity and my closing activity, we do a brain break. They know this. They expect it. It's the same pattern every single day. So they know what to expect. Next up, classroom jobs. Now, I didn't have classroom jobs when I taught high school. My first 11 years of teaching was high school. I started them in middle school, and they worked really, really well in middle school. I'm back at high school, and I'm trying to get back in the high school swing of things. And my rollout of classroom jobs just did not work with my high school students this year. So I kind of trashed it for at least this semester. I changed kids at semester. So I've kind of like just said, okay, whatever I didn't do it well this time. So I'm leaving the classroom jobs off the table. But I still think they're valuable. I just need to find a way to do it for high school. And I know lots of teachers do it in high school and have. I just never have before. I've always done it in middle school. And I've got to find a way to transition it to high school. But what you need to do is assign roles for whatever kind of jobs that you want. You can go to my website and see one of my job lists. My job lists change every year. Let me get you the resources. So if you go to this link, mm.us/resources, there is a handout there with class jobs. It's one from a couple years ago. I always am changing my class jobs to find out what works for my kids and what doesn't work for my kids. You can't just take someone else's class job list and use it. It usually doesn't work. What works in your classroom works in their classroom are not the same thing. So, but at least gives you some ideas to jump off of. So I have different things like paper passer outers, door monitors, light monitors, all different kinds of things. You can see them on there. But you assign the roles. Now, how I do it, or generally have done it, is I have my list of jobs and how many people I need for each job. And then I pass this out at the beginning of every month. Kids will volunteer to sign up. They get a salary and participation points at the end of every month if they do their job. And for me, participation points don't go into the grade at all. They are used for prizes and privileges that they can use to spend them, kind of like skee ball tickets from Chuck E. Cheese. They can do those kinds of things. So I'll assign them. They have those jobs for a month, and then we change it out every month. They get to choose what they want. I tell them not everybody has to have a job, but all jobs need to be filled. So if there is some blanks and people have not volunteered for a job, they could be assigned a job. I'll also if there are any jobs left over, I'll offer for second jobs. If they want to have a second job, they can do that as well, as long as it doesn't conflict with the original job. So I'll do those kinds of things. But you need to teach how you're going to assign them. So for me, I let them completely volunteer to do it out. Some people have them choose out of a hat or do those kinds of things. I just let them pick whatever they want. I take the time to explain each job. And on the back of the paper for every period is a description of every job. But I go and explain it also orally. And then we rotate the roles regularly. So every month, kids have an opportunity to change their job. And I want to make sure that students understand what the responsibility is and why we're doing it. It's a shared experience, a community. It takes a community to make a classroom run, and there's lots of different jobs that can go on. I have a teacher's assistant who makes copies for me. I have an errand runner who will run errands for me. All of these types of jobs. I have kids who make sure my chairs are all put back together. I'm in a deskless classroom, so I need to make sure all my chairs are neat at the end of every period. So these are the kinds of jobs that I have. And why is this so effective? Because it encourages responsibility and helps the classroom run smoothly. I tell them we are a community and we need to all share in a responsibility. And anything that doesn't require a college education is great for a student job. So anything that you have to do in your classroom but doesn't require a degree or certification, let the kids do it. Lots of them will be very, very happy to do it. At the end of the day, I have floor fanatics. And a couple years ago, I had 3 kids who loved to do it. They stayed after school and they vacuumed my room every day. That was going above and beyond, but it worked for them and they liked doing it. I hate writing up all my stuff on the board that I have to write up every day. Lots of it is just magnet. I have laminated little signs like my standards I got to talk, my targets are there, or any repetitive tasks like the word canción, song, that goes up every week. I don't write that up every week. I have laminated little labels that I put up there with magnets, but changing them all out, changing the date, writing the word of the day up there, writing the song of the week up there. That's a job for a student. I have a student do that every day at the end of the school day. So it works really, really well. I don't have to do it. It saves me time, and I can use my time more efficiently elsewhere, more productively. So that's a great job to give away. And I don't know why it took me so long to think of it. I started that job 3 years ago. I taught middle school for 11 years. And for 8 of those years, I did it all by myself. And all of high school, I did it by myself. It is a job that I love. That one is a really important one. Another fun one that I have is the job of where did Profe leave his clicker or his pen or whatever, because wherever, I'm always losing these things. So I have a clicker to change my slides. And so I have one kid whose job is to watch wherever I have in my hands to know where I put it. My flashcards that we practice vocabulary with, where did I put them? All those kinds of things so I can always find them. That's their job. Helps me immensely. Next up, bathroom breaks. Oh my gosh. Bathrooms they drive me crazy. Couple of reasons why. I'm glad at my current campus, we don't have to do this, but at the main campus, we have a pass system, an electronic pass system. Kids have to ask for a pass electronically. You have to keep your screen on that on your computer to monitor it, because then you have to accept the pass, and then they can go out and they get a few minutes, and then it starts going red. They have to come make sure they get back before it turns completely red, runs out of time. It's a hassle. At my old school, 2 years ago, not last year, 2 years ago, we had a system, but again, we had to sign them out. So they would raise their hand, they need to go to the bathroom. I'd have to log their student ID in and then put them on a bathroom pass. Oh my gosh, tell me about it. Drives me crazy, waste of time. Last year, we got permission to have like an iPad open to the bathroom spot, and then they put their own number in and log themselves out. So that worked so much better. At my school currently, we don't have it set up to use the eHall pass at our campus. So we don't, because there's a lot of reasons. We just don't at my campus. So what I do instead is I have a QR code that attaches to a Google sheet. My kids just scan the code with their phone, fill out the form, and it keeps track of who's out of the classroom. What I don't like is kids raising their hand and asking to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? It interrupts me. I don't want to know. I treat them like an adult. I tell them, just get up, sign out, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, come back as quickly as possible. That's my procedure. That's what works for me. I do need to keep a record of who leaves, so I do have a record. They do it automatically. They don't have to worry about the time or anything because the Google form automatically records the time. All they've got to do is put in their name in there. That's all they've got to do, and it keeps everything record for me, and I've got a constant record, so if anybody asks, I love it. The other nitpicky thing that I can't stand about the bathroom, we have to keep our doors locked at all times for safety reasons. So there's a pain in the butt. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. It drives me crazy. Even though I'm not the one answering the door, it's just so disruptive. I wish they could, I have a door stop. I wish they could just put the door stop in there where they go to the bathroom so the doors open a crack and they can come back. That's what I wish, but we can't do that. But whatever your procedure is, establish a procedure for requesting and taking bathroom breaks. Figure out what works for you and implement it. It may be dictated by your school, or you might come up with your own, whatever works. Use a pass system or a sign-out sheet and set clear expectations. Now, what I'm having a problem with right now is this doesn't happen when the electronic hall pass. If someone's already out in your classroom, it won't let another kid get asked for a pass yet. It stops them. But since we don't use that system, it doesn't. And so kids don't pay attention that a kid's already out. And I have more than one kid out, which I don't want to have. So what I'm going to implement is they've got to have a pass. I'm going to have one pass. If the pass is gone, you cannot go yet. You have to wait till the pass comes back. That way, only one kid is out at a time, and it's more controllable along the way. But they have their sign-out sheet. That's how I do it in my classroom. And this minimizes disruptions and maintains accountability. As I said, I don't like to be interrupted, whether it be in the target language or in English, to ask to go to the bathroom. It's just not. I just don't do it that way. But I have them sign out, so I have accountability. I know where the kid is, and if there's something going wrong and they ask, who is out at 10:05, I can go look at my sheet and tell them who is out at 10:05 right at the time. And if I see a pattern or a problem, like they're going out every day at the same time, or, they're going out a lot, they're going out maybe twice in a class period, then I'm going to have a conversation with them, and I have that accountability right there for them. So whatever works for you, but just make it seamless. And I tell my kids, I'm going to treat you like an adult until you're not. I did that with my middle school kids, and it worked just fine, and my high school kids the same way. If there's a potty problem, then we're going to talk about it. But if there's not, I expect you just to handle yourself maturely. Go take care of your business and get back to class. Can you imagine if we were in a staff meeting and we had to ask or fill out an e-hall pass or anything like that kind of thing? Can you believe that? It's just not a great idea. So this is how I do it. Turn and talk, or some kind of way to have students discuss what you're working on. So have students discuss a question or a topic with a partner for a set amount of time. So usually I'll just tell them to talk, and they know to turn to their partner and just start talking at the same time over them. I don't want them to listen to each other. Number one, I don't want them getting any bad language. And number two, they're too embarrassed for their partners to hear. So if they're talking over each other, it's perfect. And I only am using this for 30 seconds of class time. So I'm not doing 30 seconds for partner one, 30 seconds for partner two, and then another 30 seconds for the odd partner because I have an odd number of kids in the class and I've got a group of three. So this works out really well. So any of your think, pair, share type activities, partner activities, have a procedure on how they do this. Clearly explain it, like always. Model the process, and then monitor discussion. So I'm teaching how to do it. I model the process, and then I'm walking around with my ear to them as I'm going around, make sure they're on task. That's what I'm doing. It promotes student engagement, and it allows for peer learning. And so that allows that to happen. And what it's really doing is building their confidence level. That's what I'm trying to do. When they are speaking to each other, it's building their confidence level so they feel more confident to be able to speak. Another procedure you might think about having are early finishers. What do kids do if they finished their activity, whatever the activity is? It could be a quiz, whatever it is, they finished it early. So have a set of activities or tasks for students who finish work early. For me, my go-to is silent reading. Get your silent reading book out. They're in the target language, and just read until we're ready to move on. That's what I teach my kids to do. But whatever works for you. You might have some color pages in the back and you have kids color them. Or you may have, I don't know, lots of different things out there what you could do. So maybe some extra credit or other little handouts that they could do. Crossword puzzles, word searches, anything like that for them to do. You have a little desk in the back. You can tell them this is where, if you finish early, go and do something from this little area. So you create like a finished early bin or a list of ongoing projects. For me, as I said, what I want my kids to do is read and read and read and read. So they know this is what they're going to do when they are done with a task early. So I don't get the question like, teacher, I'm done. What should I do? Get a book and read. Get a book and read. I teach them that so they don't ask me that anymore. This way, it keeps all students engaged and minimizes downtime, because when the kids are on by themselves and they are, off to their own because they're done with their work, they're going to start doing mischief. Usually it results in starting to talk. And like during a quiz, I don't want them to talk, but they can't stop themselves, or they're going to pull their phone out. And I don't allow them to use their phone for anything like that. So, because I find it's like a gray area. If I let them use their phone this time, then they don't know the difference that time is not appropriate to use their phone. So I just have a no phone rule in my classroom. Simple as that. But it minimizes the downtime. It keeps everybody on task and keeps everybody engaged until we can all come back together. Exit tickets. This is a great formative assessment. This is a great formative assessment that you can use with your students on a regular basis. Exit tickets. So at the end of a lesson, students complete a short reflection or answer a question on an index card. However you do it. I usually do mine on a Google form so I can keep them really easy and we're not wasting paper. Reflections, though, I handle separately. That is a reflection. They do that in their notebooks. I do those on Fridays. Those aren't as an exit ticket for me. Those are just a reflection for the week. But provide clear prompts and collect responses as students leave. So it could be, name 2 things you learned today, or what's one question you have today after the lesson, or what's one thing you learned and one thing you still have a question about. Anything like that's an exit ticket. So it really helps you kind of get a clear overall, not a specific, but an overall idea of what kids understood by the lesson that you did. And then you can determine whether you need to reteach that lesson, approach it in a different way, or if you can move on. Because it provides quick feedback on student understanding and helps plan future lessons. It's a really effective way. I also sometimes do them visually, where they got to record a little video. Usually that's when I want them to use some language in there, like answer the daily question, like what's your favorite food or your favorite color, and I want them to do that in the target language. So those are some things they can do as well. And lastly, let's talk about positive reinforcement systems. So implement a system for recognizing and rewarding positive behavior. I used to use participation points. Physical points I would pass out and kids are responsible for keeping track of and then turning back into me to buy privileges and prizes. A couple of years ago, I switched over to Class Dojo. It's a free app. The kids like it. They can see how many points they have, and I can deduct points easily, if they buy something. And so I set it up that I give them points throughout the class period. So they can hear when they get positive points. And if you're on the screen on your computer, they can see their name go up with positive points. So I give points for things like showing up on time. Every kid who shows up to class on time gets a point. All the kids who are working on the warm-up, when I'm looking up and I'm checking, get a point. If they ask a question, they get a point. If they answer a question, whether it's right or wrong, they get a point. If we're doing conversation days and we're having like a conversation that lasts 2 or 3 minutes, they get 5 points for that. I give 5 points for being first place in a game, 3 points for being second place in a game, 1 point for being third place in a game. I give out points for anything. They help another student, they get points. All those types of things I want to give points for to kind of reward them. And then they can use these points to buy privileges. Again, you can go to my MM resources, this link right here, and you can see the kinds of things that kids can buy. It frequently changes. I ask kids at the beginning of the year, what are they willing to pay for with their points? The key to this is they never use these points for grades. So it's not extra credit, and it doesn't go to their grades at all. Their academic grade is completely separate. But they can use it to buy like a homework pass or drop a quiz pass if they have enough. There's lots of different things that they can buy them with. So you can use tokens, points, or a chart to track and reward behavior. Said I use Class Dojo. It's worked for me. It's the only one that I found that I don't have to pay for and work. There are some other ones that are more elaborate and you can do more with. We used to use it at my old school, 5-star. It was the same thing we used for the bathroom passes, but we could also add positive points and reward kids with points for doing things. And so that worked really nicely as well. But that cost money. So this doesn't cost money. And so that's why I like using the Class Dojo. And it encourages positive behavior and creates a supportive classroom environment. And that's the whole goal. I want to provide, make them repeat the positive things that they're doing in class, so that they feel better about themselves and they're feeling recognized for the things that they're doing. So that's really key for me. Now, does anybody else have any other procedures? I mean, this is not an exhaustive list, but does anybody else have any other ones that they would like to talk about? Go ahead and put them in the chat. Or if you are watching this on the replay, go ahead and put them in the comment section. I'll be sure to go back and correlate them, answer any questions you may have. Next week, we're back at Tuesday, October 1st at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about assessments. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So until then, unless anybody has anything they would like to add or ask before we go, I will say good night for tonight, and I will see you next week. Have a good one, everybody.